Hey everyone, we're live. It is Monday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, and it is the John Moran Ask Me Anything from Solutions 8. Get my phone plugged in here. There we are. All right, so last 2 weeks was a bit crazy. Haven't been on in about 2 weeks. We had Memorial Day 2 weeks ago, and then we did our master classes last week, so that kind of took up pretty much all the time. But yeah, I'm here live now, and so this is the time where you can hop in, chat about anything, any questions you have specifically about Google Ads, anything maybe analytics, tag manager, all the good stuff. So yeah, some updates for Google Ads specifically. Google came out with their they did their live where they kind of explained all of the changes that are going through Google Ads, and a couple things I'm excited about. One is image extensions from search. We had a couple accounts that was in the beta, and it's pretty cool. The image extensions for search ads is going to be, I think, pretty big. Now, there's a couple caveats to this. One is that the image extensions that are going to show up on the search campaigns are really only going to show up for the advertiser when you're number one, primarily. They might expand into number two and number three, but the first section, that first ad in Google Ads is where the image extensions are really going to be shown most often. So if you're looking at using image extensions and you're not seeing any impressions and clicks on them, and you might be bidding a little bit low, maybe using maximize clicks, or maybe you're just not bidding at a high level, those image extensions may not show. So if you really want to test those, my opinion would be to possibly start a new campaign. Use only the keywords that have really good ranking and really good performance, and use those for the image extensions, because that's where the image extensions are going to show up most often. The other thing that I'm actually pretty excited about is Google is waiving the $50,000 in ad spend limit to use custom audiences, which is a pretty big deal. I think gone are the days now where people are just going to be uploading lists and spamming, because I think automated video strategies and those type of things are kind of pushing away the spammers, which has been pretty good, because we have low performance, because you're spamming people, the campaign's just not going to run again at a low quality score. But those that restriction limitation, whatever you want to call it, that's being lifted, is actually going to be that's going to be pretty cool. Another thing that we've been testing that is showing up more and more often is store visits. So if you have a local brick and mortar, and you upload your Google, or not upload, but you link your Google My Business account to your Google Ads account, you're going to start to see a new conversion action called store visits. And that's actually Google being able to track the person coming to your store. And you'll actually see, did they click on this ad, and then later on, and whatever your click attribution is set to, hopefully it's 90 days if you've been following the channel. It's not still on 30 days. But if you're looking at 90 days, you're going to see that those people that actually show up to your brick and mortar location are going to be a conversion action that's going to show up as store visit. Now, a good SOP, standard operating procedure, that I would recommend is not necessarily having that in your conversions tab as counted as conversions. I would leave it turned off. The reason being, if you have a brick and mortar location and someone is searching, and maybe they can call, maybe they can schedule an appointment, maybe they can schedule free consultation, especially the calls. If you're like a doctor's, dentist office, something like that takes phone calls in order to see people or patients, those store visits will end up kind of duplicate counting. So what I mean by that is, if you have someone that schedules an appointment and shows up, you're going to have two conversions. So your cost per conversion is going to be, cut in half from the same person. Your conversion rate is going to be double from the same person. Your conversions are actually going to be, obviously counted twice. Now, if you leave them in the conversion tab, if you leave the conversion setting to off for store visits, then you can still use the all conversions tab, and that all conversion column will tell you, not the conversions you're counting, but all of the other ones as well. So when you have them side by side, the conversion tab and all conversions, they'll say like 0000500, and the 5 will be the one that you're counting in the conversions tab. Then the other one are like, store visits, calls, maybe you have, time on site, any of the other ancillary, the kind of micro conversions that you're counting that you want to monitor, but not necessarily report against for your cost per conversion rate, because your automated bidding strategies are going to go against those. So if you have, target CPA. You could think, well, I'm meeting my target CPA now because I'm counting these other ones as conversions, but I'm not getting any additional customers. I see my lead going up, I see my cost per lead going down, I see my conversion rate going up, but my business isn't growing. And that's because you're taking 2 actions from the same person and counting it twice. So that's just kind of a tip on store visits. See a few people in here. So again, feel free to just drop your questions right into chat. If we don't have much activity, we'll just kind of see me talk awkwardly now for the next few minutes. It was a fairly lackluster update from Google for their annual. I don't know if it was maybe COVID related or what, but not a whole lot of new, really exciting, interesting things that are coming out. I remember last year it was really cool when they were introducing new ways to do the shopping, the showcase ads, and then those went away. But not a whole lot of new cool updates. I think Google is kind of hiding a little bit in their match types that they've been making those changes and those updates too. For those not necessarily in the know, phrase match and exact match are starting to act more like broad, and broad match modified is going away, or is gone away pretty much. But if you're building anything new, don't use broad match modified. It's on a timer of when they're just going to be gone if they're not gone already today. But phrase match and exact match are acting more like broad, and it's getting, and the Google live stream essentially said, hey, the phrase and exact gets you really close to what you want, and the broad is going to get more topical. And I just think that's just not a really high integrity way to basically say, we're just going to give you whatever we want and then charge you for it, even if it's wrong. I think that approach is it's just not right, because if you're using phrase and exact, the keywords that you want. If you want Google to match more broad, you can use broad, or what broad match modified used to be. Hopefully it evolves into something more and more closely aligned to what phrase match and exact match used to be. But if you're curious as to why your campaigns may not be performing as well as they were performing, back in November of last year, look at your search terms, and you'll look at Google does something where it's called exact match, and then underneath it'll say like close variant, which is just an oxymoron. How do you have a exact match close variant? And so you'll see that some of your exact match keywords that might have been a little bit broad are now acting more like just a broad, like a pure broad no match type keyword. So if you had something like dentist near me, it might match for local dentist, but you may have tried local dentist a bunch and that never worked for you, so you don't want that anymore. So you just don't bid on it. Now you have to start adding it as a negative keyword along with the other tons of irrelevancy that might come in from an exact match keyword having a close variant of a search term. So I think Google's working on it. I think that they're working well. Where we've seen success is using a pure broad keyword and then a target CPA bidding strategy kind of safety net, so that Google can go broad, but it will try to keep it under a specific cost per lead or cost per sale, whatever you're marketing as a conversion. But when they kind of updated, I was like hoping to have more information about what they're possibly trying to change it into, or what their hopes are to get it into more relevancy. But it was just basically saying like, hey, the broad is going to be more topical and the phrase exact is going to get closer to what you want. It's like, well, what if we know what we want? What if we've been doing this for years? It was a little bit lackluster. So hopefully that will continue to evolve, and I'll keep you all posted on anything that I find or any experiences that I see. As a tip, if you know that if you're heavily reliant on broad match modified, which we were very reliant on broad match modified just because we had intent driven keywords. So best, top, local, most reviewed, whatever it may be, those kind of broad match modified additional keywords inside of your key phrases allows you to show up more for intent. So instead of like doctor, it says, best local doctor. And then you have a person that's looking for, someone to contact today because they're looking for the best. I need the best. I need to hire someone now. I don't know who I need to hire. So they're trying to Google it. But with broad match modified going away and acting more like phrase match, a quick tip if you want your phrase match to act more like your broad match modified is to do reverses. So what it means is that if you had, you know, best local doctor, and that was your broad match modified, and I'm using really, really broad terms like best local dentist, maybe. Take best local dentist and then flip it. So dentist, best local. Find me a dentist that is the best in my local area. You know, that will now show up in phrase match, where broad match modified used to show it up. Now best local dentist might match only for if it starts with best and then ends with dentist, is somewhere around there. It's just going to show that. But we've taken our accounts that have broad match modified, flip the search term so that you can actually have a more broad match modified-esque type of keyword. So whether it's typed this way or that way, I'll show up for it, just like how broad match modified used to. It'll bring more relevancy. I think broad match modified did have a few things that were, you know, if you had, I don't know why you'd ever have a singular keyword broad match modified that's basically just broad, but broad match modified, like 2 keywords, sometimes you see, well, that's not really even closely relevant, but yeah, it did have those 2 search terms in there, or 2 keywords in their search terms. It's really good to have more longer tail, write it forwards, write it backwards, and you'll start to capture actually either the same amount of traffic or possibly a little bit more, but at a higher relevancy. So that's a kind of a tip that we've been seeing lately, that turning those broad match modified keywords, when you have to turn them into phrase match, reverse them, and you'll show up for pretty much the same amount. If you turn your broad match modified into a phrase match, just left it alone, sometimes you see like 30% less traffic. So that was something that took a pretty big hit. Again, this is the Ask Me Anything. I see we have more and more people here that are showing up. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat and we'll go through them. That's kind of what I'm here for today. Didn't really have an itinerary, didn't really plan a whole lot. I'm just kind of filling some time until some questions come in. So drop your questions in the chat whenever you're ready. But yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Another thing is, and if you're an agency, and if you are a agency that is a premier partner, kind of something that maybe you didn't know about, but now it's not really an issue anymore. Google's recommendations tab that lowers your optimization score, which I have a big problem with. I think everyone else did too. But Google came out and said, hey, if you're a premier partner, you're going to have to keep an optimization over, I think it was like 80% optimization score. And anybody that manages Google ads at a high level sometimes will look at those recommendations tab and like, oh my gosh, like this is a horrible, horrible idea. Like, no, I don't want to add 783 keywords. Otherwise you're going to penalize me by 10%. Google originally stated that they're actually going to like remove your premier partner status if you didn't have all of your campaigns at least at, or an average of your MCC account at least at 80% or higher. And they said, but if you dismiss them, it still doesn't count. You have to apply them. And so Google actually came back and said, no, fine, you can dismiss them. That's something that we're allowing you to do. So that's like an update that I think that if you're an agency and you're worried about your optimization score, that's just something that would be notable for you. So that's that. Let's see what else I could talk about. I have a new video that's going to be coming out to the channel. I can talk about that one. So there's a functionality in Google that I think is kind of silent, that a lot of people I don't think knew about. If you set your daily budget to, let's say, $100 a day, and in a month's time, you have to times it by 30.4, you'll spend that monthly budget. But sometimes Google can overspend. And there's a lot of tools out there that will say, hey, if you're overspending, we'll drop your daily budget. But Google will overspend for you and actually not charge you. And I don't think that people knew about that. If you hover over your daily budget tab, it'll say Google will not charge you over X, or you will not be charged over X. Whatever is your daily budget times 30.4, that's the charge. Even if it goes over by like $2,000. I have a video coming out that'll show you that Google might have overspent by $2,000, but they charged you $1. So it's a way for them to kind of get you more traffic, and they actually don't get paid for it. So if you have a daily budget and you're happy with it, if it starts to overspend, just let it go. It'll overspend and you won't be charged for it. So that's just something that's pretty cool. I didn't know if a lot of people knew about that. Let's see. No. Yeah, there's no questions. I think we'll probably end for today. I appreciate everyone watching. Thanks so much. Bye. Oh, Andrew said, he's got chat. I don't think you see the questions coming in on YouTube. Oh, interesting. Okay, Leandra, thank you so much. Leandra's actually dropping in the questions here. Yeah, it's not coming through for me for some reason. I apologize, everyone. Thank you, Leandra. Oh, Michael Johnson. Hey, John. Thank you, Leandra. Yeah, I don't know why they're not coming through on the YouTube. That just says top chats, and they just all blank. Our busy season is July to August. Any recommendations on campaign budget settings to get the most out of those months? We are not currently running ads besides a brand campaign. So if your busy season is from July to August, I would start now. Google's going to need some time to ramp up, and if you're going to have a busy season that starts in July, that's in a little over 2 weeks. So the first 2 weeks of Google is especially any campaigns that we talked about in the masterclass and the bidding strategies. You're going to need those 2 weeks to kind of hammer things out, and you don't need a high spend. You want to have probably a quarter to half the spend that you would normally need going into your busy season. So for the next 2 weeks, start your campaigns budget at, let's say if you're going to say, hey, I need to spend $300 a day, starting at like 50. And you know that the busy season is going to be a higher spend. You want to spend low. Let Google start to learn the traffic. Google's going to learn the traffic. And you can actually learn traffic on Google for $2 a day. It will learn. You won't get much clicks, but it will start to watch the audiences. So if it starts in July, start all of your campaigns now on a lower spend and let them go for the next 2 weeks. And then once maybe 2 days before July, or maybe in July 1st, then crank them up to where you need them to be. Immediately start at that budget, because what it's going to do is it's going to watch the traffic, and when you crank it up, Google's going to go after that low-hanging fruit first. So that's a really good way to get Google to start to learn. And then when you're ready, when you're ready to start increasing, Google's going to say, okay, I have some low-hanging fruit. And you'll see this sometimes even on target CPA reductions. Like let's say you're running a target CPA for $100 a day and you bring it down to like 80, you'll get those $80 leads, but then all of a sudden the campaign will start to die off a little bit because it says, hey, I've grabbed all those low-hanging fruit and now I don't have anybody else. So sometimes the campaign will dip. Same thing happens in reverse. If you start to have ads show, now it'll start to watch the traffic and say, well, you're limited by budget. You need more budget. And that's okay. That's good. When you're limited by budget, it says, hey, we can get these people at the current bidding strategy like levels that you're looking for. We just don't have enough daily budget. So that when you start to crank it up, it starts to go after that audience. So I would say that starting your campaigns now, low budget, on July 1st, put them up to exactly where you would hold them through July and August. So that'd be the SOP. What determines whether Google will show a text ad on a SERP? I think that's going to be the image extensions what I'm talking about. But what determines whether Google will show a text ad on a search engine results page? Pretty much kind of everything. Are you bidding high enough? Is the bidding strategy appropriate for your campaign? Are you tracking conversions? Do you have good quality scores or enough daily budget? Obviously, if the keyword has enough traffic, there's a lot of things that are shown in the text ad. I think you might be talking about an image extension if that's what we were talking about before, but let me know. Then Hernan, hey Hernan, actually I owe you an email, Hernan. I'm going to be getting back to you. I have your email sitting in my inbox and I will email you back today. Do you consider that local ad campaign can be useful for a moving company, considering that most of them are callers? I think that's what you actually emailed me about too. Let me just read this real quick. So yes, now local campaigns, they're good, but I would use them supplementary, which means to use them in addition to. Because local campaigns, you don't really have a lot of control. There's no real location. So that's the first thing I would say is possibly a bad issue, is if you have a location and Google's like, well, these are all the people that are relevant. You might find that you're generating leads in areas that maybe the moving company doesn't go to. It might be too far or the cost is too much. So now when the people call in, they're like, yeah, can you move us? And they're like, yeah, where are you? Oh, you're here. That's going to be a $150 gas surcharge. Well, I don't want to hire you. So local campaigns can be good, but there's a lot of things you can't control. And not that you can't control them, meaning that you have to start them perfectly. But if you have a ad that is running, that is generating something bad that you don't want, you might not have control to stop it. And that's the big part that I think that a lot of people don't quite, how would I describe this, foresee as an issue. And that's a big issue, because it's not that, I might not be able to set everything up that I want, but if you have good performance, you can't isolate that and grow it. If you have bad performance, you can't isolate it and stop it. So run a search campaign. That would be my opinion. Run the search campaigns can be your highest performing, at DSA as well. But in the local campaigns, maybe use that as like a 1/5 of the budget, or maybe 1/7 of the budget. Use it on a low budget. In addition to, it will gain more impressions and clicks. You'll have your map ads show fairly well, but you can do that in search with location extension. You can't set the hours. So if you're a moving company that takes phone calls, it's going to run 24/7. You can't stop it. So if someone is 11 o'clock at night and they've been desperately searching for a movie company and they call, you might not be able to answer your phone, and you can't stop that. So I would say yes, but use them in addition to, and then isolate that ad spend down, and then just see what type of conversions you're getting from it. If you see the conversions coming in from the campaign and you're using UTM parameters, you say, yeah, the bad leads or leads that are possibly too far are all coming from that campaign, then you can shut it off. Hopefully that actually answers your email question, Hernan, but I would use it supplementary and use it and monitor very closely. Thank you, Leandra. This is super helpful. Also, and Hernan says, also for lawyers and dentists, in addition to calls and forms, they visit their office in person. Yeah, again, I would use a supplementary, just because you can't isolate and scale local campaigns if something is working, and you also can't isolate and reduce if something's not working, or there's a problem, or there's something possibly eating your budget, and there's odd calls at odd times. You can't control any of that. I would use location extensions first. Can you explain DSA ads? Yeah, so DSA ads are really cool. They are think of it like instantaneous SEO. That's the best way that I can explain it. Instantaneous SEO means Google is going to scan any pages you tell it to, and you set those up via what they call dynamic ad targets. So when it scans the pages that you ask them to scan, it is only going to read the content. Now, that's really important to understand. It's only going to read the content of those pages, and then the content of those pages are going to be shown up as essentially your keywords. So make sure that you have your content hammered down first, really, really, really well. If your content isn't good, you're going to show up for all of the searches that Google can sometimes take it out of context. Like if you have, words and phrases on a pages that Google is going to scan, just imagine that those words and phrases can be used as keywords. Now, what DSA ads do is says, hey, you want us to scan these 10 pages. We scan the 10 pages, and anything that comes in, we're going to just send a person. We're going to build an ad for you using your page content and your site titles, and we're going to build an ad for you, and we're going to send the person right to that page. And the only thing you can have a control over in the ad is the descriptions. So it's going to send a person right to that page. Now, it's a high amount of relevancy. Think of it like I've set up a bunch of keywords, a bunch of ad groups go into a bunch of landing pages. DSA kind of does that for you and then gives you good search terms. So they're really, really powerful. And they work really well. But you can also use them to learn good keywords. Look at your search terms in DSA ad and say, well, if someone's searching for this and they're having good performance, and it happens a lot, take that keyword from your search term from DSA, stick it in your search campaign. And then you'll see your search campaign start to have more and more impressions and clicks off that good keyword, and then essentially grow. But DSA ads essentially scan your pages, match the content as a keyword, as a search term when people are typing in. It builds an ad and sends them right to that page. So it works really, really well. Just make sure that you set negative dynamic ad targets for your blog, if your blog talks about a lot of different things, and also set a negative keyword for your brand, because otherwise those things just kind of turn into brand traffic because, hey, that shows up really well on your page and those people convert all the time. Hi, John. When using phrase match, does it make sense to add installation Amsterdam and Amsterdam installation, for example? Yeah, absolutely. Because if you look at installation company in Amsterdam or Amsterdam installation company, again, both super relevant. Only one is going to have more exposure if you only have one of those keywords. So yes, exactly. Flip it like that and you'll see it'll come out. Kevin, John, you suggested using target CPA for a brand new search campaign in 3X Challenge. Why? Knowing it's a new campaign, why not manual CPC and why not target ROAS for a brand new? So in a new search campaign, when you're using broad keywords, use target CPA. If you want to use phrase and exact, then use manual. You can use target ROAS in a new search campaign. The issue is though, and let me back up a bit. Target CPA, when you go broad, is good because Google's going to match you for a whole ton of things if you're going broad. Now, when it matches you for a whole bunch of things, manual CPC, you're just going to pay for a whole bunch of things, and you're going to continue to pay for a whole bunch of things, whether they work or not. Target CPA, you're going to pay for a whole bunch of things, and then when Google sees what works and what doesn't, it's going to give you more search results for what works. So target CPA is going to keep your traffic relevant enough to get you leads at or sales at a specific CPA. If you start manual CPC and broad, just imagine you're going to pay for everything relevant and irrelevant. It'll never get better. And because you can't add a whole bunch of negative search terms because there's too many keywords coming in, all the different variables, because you went broad, it won't have a safety net to reduce. Now, if you use target ROAS though, you can. Target ROAS takes longer to optimize because target ROAS goes off of your cart value, not the cost per sale. Cost per sale is cost per conversion. Target ROAS means, okay, can I make the sale? Maybe. But can I also make the sale at a high enough amount to get the return on ad spend? Even more difficult. In the beginning, you're setting two big goals: get a sale and get a sale at this amount. Target CPA in the beginning is really good because once it says, can I get a sale? Yes. What was the amount of the sale? Doesn't really matter. I got the sale. Well, what is the amount of sale? Let's say $100. Cut that in 4. Now you got $25. That's your target CPA. Your average cart value is 100. Target CPA is 25. You get 400 ROAS. So you can back into it. Target ROAS means you need to get the sale and you need to get a big sale. In the beginning, very difficult if you're using broad. I hope that helps. When I'm looking at, and I only have about 3 minutes left, so I'm trying to go through these a little bit quicker. When I'm looking at my lost impression share, my rank is very high. Could have something to do with the fact that target CPA campaign, and should I experiment manual? If your target CPA campaign and you have your search impression loss by rank, increase your target CPA. That will allow it to bid more aggressively. It's going to cause CPAs usually to go up, but if it's highly competitive, you need to reduce a restriction where it says, hey, I need $15 clicks. It's like, well, then I can only, or $15 leads, I can only bid 3. So I'm not bidding high. But if it says, hey, you can get $40 leads, it's like, oh, okay, I can bid up to 5, 6, 7, 8, and you'll see your search impression share loss due to rank go down because it can bid higher because your target CPA isn't as restrictive. Jan, hi John, I have a question regarding e-commerce. Do you always set up all conversion actions such as add a cart, checkout, blah, blah, blah? I only do purchase. I like to see them because it gives me indications that other campaigns are starting to work. Like if people are starting to add a cart, I'm like, okay, cool. They're probably going to start purchasing. But I do not count them as a conversion. I set all of them up. I only count purchase as a conversion because as soon as it starts to learn, it's going to go after more of those people. If it starts to learn about people who add items to cart and don't buy, it's going to go after those people more often because it's doing its job. But I use the other begin to checkout, add to cart, those type of things, start to checkout. I'll see those and say, okay, I'm waiting for those things to start to come in on these specific items, and then use that all conversion column that I talked about in the beginning. But use only the purchase conversion because as soon as it starts to make those sales, it's going to start to repeat that. I don't want it to start, repeat, and start to learn, especially long term on bad conversions that never actually turned into sales for me. I meant if I don't see text ads for an informational search term that gets a lot of monthly searches, doesn't mean Google won't show text ads for that search term or, okay. I meant if I don't see text ads for an informational search term that gets a lot of monthly searches. No, sometimes what that means is that, yeah, it could have low search volume, bid on that keyword. And if it says low search volume, then that's going to be it. If you see a lot of monthly searches, but it's not enough for Google to find a good threshold, especially in your targeted area, it could be United States. That sometimes means that yes, it might not show just because there's limited search traffic. But I would test it first, just because I have seen keywords. I'm like, why isn't anybody bidding on this? And when I tested, I'm like, oh, that's a horrible keyword. No wonder why. So sometimes that happens. Yeah, I understand the inclusion conversion setup. So you always set them up as unticked. Correct. I always set everything up as unticked, except for the conversion. And last question. My bad. I didn't mean to add text with the installation Amsterdam. Does it make sense to add both as keywords in the campaign, or no? Add both of them because people will search sometimes installation company in Amsterdam and Amsterdam Installation Company. Those two you'll want to show up for, so you add them both as keywords. Yes. Thank you, Leandra. This is so helpful. So I apologize, everyone. My chats, I still don't see any chats on the side. This is all Leandra slacking them to me. So apologize, everyone. Yeah, it's something that I think. Let me see here. Oh no, I have a few more minutes actually. So if we want to, you can keep coming in. I'm so sorry about that. I wasted probably, I don't know, 25 minutes of everyone's time because for whatever reason YouTube has a nice glitch and I don't see any chats. This is really annoying. So I'm so sorry, everyone. Yeah, so let's just see here. Oh, no more questions coming in. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Apologize about that. I'm going to make sure that we'll probably run like a little test here. I'll hop on and have someone from Solution State like chat in and make sure I can see the questions. But hopefully everyone got their questions answered. If there's no questions that come in and anything else, feel free to join next week. Or, if I can't always respond to everyone's email, but if you want, email me at John, John, at SOL8. So that's the number 8.com. Oh, Michael Johnson. Oh, what do you usually include in your tracking template? Do you typically use it at the account level? I typically use it at the account level. In tracking template, I always do campaign and keyword. Actually, is pretty much the only ones I really use. Our structure is fairly simple, and as Michael Johnson, you can see, I don't have a lot of campaigns that'll have keyword sculpting, like keywords in this campaign, like keywords in that campaign, and then the negatives added to each other. It's just because PureBroad doesn't care anymore. So campaign and keyword is usually what I look at, because when I see a campaign that's doing well, and I look at a HubSpot instance, and I'm like, okay, what was a campaign? That was a campaign. What was a keyword? I usually can say this campaign or these two campaigns and these two keywords always produce quality conversions. That's the most that I look at. Standard though, you want to use campaign, ad group, keyword. I don't use ad just because I really could care less which ad brought them in. With responsive search ads, they're 1,000 different ads in one anyway, so I really don't care. But keyword, that's usually where the first section are going to come from, is if they're searching for this keyword and they're good quality, or they're searching for that keyword and they're bad quality. Those are where I find most of my consistencies. Should broad match, phrase, and exact be in one campaign in different ad groups or totally different campaigns? I use them in totally different campaigns, but you can see some keyword infighting when you have broad. What that means is that your broad keywords in one campaign will, if it has good performance, will show ads for keywords, even if that search term that came in is an exact match keyword in a different campaign. Really important to look at this. If you're going to use broad, use ad preview and diagnosis all the time. I can't stress this enough, because when you use ad preview and diagnosis, you're like, hey, my exact keyword and my phrase keyword in this campaign are just not performing that well. Why? Well, when you use ad preview and diagnosis and you type that keyword in, you're going to find most often that your broad campaign that has good performance is going to say, this match for that. And it might not even be closely relevant, but because that campaign has good performance, it steals traffic from your exact match and phrase match other campaign. So broad, if you're going to use broad, that has to be in some campaign. That will steal traffic from your phrase and exact match other campaigns if the broad match campaign has good performance. And usually it does, because Google's pushing you there anyway. So that's what I usually find, is keyword sculpting is kind of going away now, and you actually could end up hurting yourself with keyword sculpting. And I've seen this many times. You'll see that your one search term may match an exact and a phrase and not match a broad, but all three of them will match, and it actually won't show your ad. It says, we can't tell you why this isn't showing up. And you'll match, like I've seen some campaigns where one search term matched 17 different keywords in 16 different ad groups and 8 different campaigns, because that one keyword is a close match to the exact, it's a close match to the phrase, it's a close match to the broad, and that happens for like 5 keywords. So Google's already doing that now. I'll give you an example. Best local doctor, best top doctor, local doctor near me, best most reviewed doctor. Those 4 search terms. If you type in best doctor, it'll match for all 4 of those, even if they're all exact. That's what you have to understand, is it will match for all of them, because Google's saying they're closely relative enough. So I don't need 4 keywords. I really just need 1, and I'll give you all the search terms for it. But if you want to have all the different variables, it will match for all of those. And sometimes it won't show the ad because it's matching to too many. It doesn't make sense, but it does happen. Thanks. And is there a way to use different target CPAs per ad group in one campaign? Yes, you can. You can use if you use target CPA at your ad group, you can bring in the target CPA column. You can edit there. So different ad group can use different CPAs. Even in dynamic search ads, that works as well. With busy season, July, August, would you rely more heavily on not smart campaign types since the smart ones need a learning period? No, and what's interesting is with high traffic, it learns quickly. I usually find out that a not smart campaign performs better with low traffic because it's like, hey, I know that these are majority, like these 10 keywords are all I need because there's low traffic and these work really well. So you can use a not smart campaign. But I would rely on a smart campaign with heavy influx of traffic because it's going to have a lot of traffic. It's going to be the demand is going to be high, or sorry, the supply, which is like the advertisers, is going to be low, but the demand is going to be high. So you actually get cheaper traffic because there's just an influx of traffic that's so plentiful that you don't have to bid high for, and you can cycle through a lot of quick search terms and learn really quickly, so that it will actually perform fairly quickly. And if you leave them on a low spend, and it starts to, especially if it starts to make a few sales or a few leads, when you crank that up, it will become fairly successful. For new product category, i.e. energy bars for menopause, do you still think smart shopping will perform given that customers don't know to search for it? So I would test it, but new product categories are expensive, and anyone that tells you otherwise is lying. That's just the nature of the beast. If you are going to bring a new product to market, expect to have to possibly pay to build that audience yourself. If there's no search traffic for, energy bars for menopause, and you might have to go with what we call a content pivot, which means nutrition for menopause. That would be really relevant because energy bars, nutrition. People look for best nutrition while going through menopause. There's ways to do what they call product pivots, which you were looking for A, but have you met thing B? So you could use smart shopping, but make sure your titles and descriptions have keywords that don't say energy bar, but or include other things. So your title could be, let me just see your energy bar. So say, nutritional energy bar food for menopause. So now nutrition and food for menopause, that shows up. That's what I would do, is make sure that you're including keywords that people might be searching for, is that it's topical around energy bars, because no one's probably going to be searching for energy bars, but people are going to be looking for nutritional, information about what to eat, even like what to eat while I'm menopause. Perfect. Even in your description on your product, you could say the best food to eat while I'm menopause. Perfect. Now that's going to match, because people looking for that, Google's going to read your description and say, oh, okay, this is what people are searching for, and they start to show your items. So I would do that. It needs longer time. It's going to need a long time because you're not having a one-to-one. People looking for A and you sell A. You're going to say people looking for A, you're going to try selling B. It needs time to learn that, especially as it might make sales, because those sales are possibly going to be less frequent. So give it time, please. Give it months, and it could work. It's okay to combine a DSA ad group and a broad buying intent ad group in the same campaign, and is one better than the other? Yeah, you can. Just imagine that you might find that they flip-flop all the time and not good consistent performance per ad group. So if you have an ad group that's DSA and a broad intent buying ad group, they'll probably show up almost as equal. So can you get away with just a DSA campaign and then a broad campaign? I would do it that way. Just separate them, because then you can fluctuate spend when it's in when they're in two different ad groups and you have one daily ad spend. If you're like, wow, this one's performing really well and this one's performing poorly, well, just increasing the ad spend is going to have both of them happen. Shutting one off, now you built the campaign, like I just mentioned, start them in two separate campaigns. So think about, if I was to have good or bad performance, how would I control that? If they're in two different campaigns, then you can control it more often. This one just naturally shows up more often for this keyword, even though it's in here. Okay, great. Add more ad spend, and this is unaffected. I would start them off in separate campaigns. I have relevant ads with keywords showing up in my, I have relevant ads with keywords showing up in my ad and on my landing page. I'm converting very well. Yet I get low ad rank score and a lost impression share. Well, you have lost impression share due to rank or due to budget. So that's the thing is, yes, it's normal. We have sometimes where campaigns will spend, $20,000 a month and we're only capturing, 10% of the market. So look at, you said low ad rank score. Okay, so low ad rank score could be site speed. Also, it could be your daily budget. You can have a low ad rank score because of site speed or budget. So that's those two things to think about because of rank. Okay, it means that you're not spending enough per keyword. That's okay. If you're getting good conversions and you can add more daily budget, it just means you're not showing up as high on the page. But if your search impression share is like 60%, but your lost search impression share at the top is 80, look at all of them. Look at search pressure, search top impression share, search absolute top impression share, search impression share loss due to budget, search top loss due to budget, search absolute top loss due to budget, search impression share due to rank, search loss due to rank at the top, search loss due to rank at the absolute top. And you have to look at, okay, where am I showing up? Am I showing up a ton, just not very high? Great. Then you're paying for low traffic. That's converting. Awesome. Just keep adding more budget. Look at all of them and see how they're interacting with each other. We a lot of times don't bid at the top. So if you don't bid at the top, that's okay, because if there's so much traffic and it's converting well, the only thing you would do by increasing your rank is just pay more money for the same traffic you're going to get anyway, if that's the case. Yeah, see, if I'm looking for the Cosm and John of influencer marketing strategic partnership, who would you suggest? Influencer marketing strategic partnership, us. I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for, Michael, but influencer marketing strategic partnership. Yeah, shoot me an email, Michael. I know that you already did, and you let me know that the chat wasn't working, so I appreciate it. But if you want to, yeah, if you want to chat, let's chat. I'm always open to it. Or if I understand what you're looking for better, I can probably point you in the right direction. But yeah, I appreciate it. Here's a great final question. Yeah, so I would say, yeah, shoot me an email and we'll chat. To get to, I just want to kind of touch upon that search pressure here. So because of rank just means, hey, if I paid more for this traffic, would it convert better? Possibly. You have to look at competitiveness. Are you getting the leftover traffic that other people that are higher than you are scooping up first, and now you're just getting the people that like couldn't work with the other people, and now they're trying to work with you, and they're kind of low quality leads, or didn't buy from the other people and also didn't buy from you because they just might not have the money? Look at rank simply just means, am I high enough on the page? But if your search impression share is, you can have, as an example, a 90% search impression share and lose 80% of your absolute top due to rank. That just means you're number 2 all the time. So look at each one. Search pressure share means essentially first page-ish. That's most of the time. You can be on the second page and still have search pressure share, but a lot of people, they have to get to the second page. So mute point. Search impression share is first page. Search top is the first 4. Search absolute top is number 1. So look at what those rankings are, and you might find I'm okay with being low because I have tons of traffic and it's cheap and they convert. Good. What are your thoughts on freelance for PPC versus agency? If you're hiring, that's a really great question. Freelance, you have more risk, but it's less expensive. A good freelancer, a really good freelancer, is going to cost the same as an agency, but you might not have all the benefits of an agency. So sometimes agencies can have some creative departments to help you out with some like ad copy and ad imagery and that kind of stuff. It really depends on what your budget is. My soft opinion is freelance. There's a lot more risk in freelance because they don't have a boss that yells at them. So if they do a poor job and they don't care, then yeah. But if you have an agency, a lot of times you have upper management that yells at them if they don't do a good job. So you have that kind of backdrop. But agency is going to be more expensive most of the time. So it really depends. If you're on a lower budget and you're just starting out and you find a freelancer that you really trust, you can start there. My opinion is agency, just because they usually have better SOPs and they're being monitored by someone. And last thing is, if no matter what, try to find a Google partner or Premier partner. A lot of times freelancers aren't Premier partners. The reason why I like this is Google has a Premier partners. You have to meet a specific threshold. So when you're Premier partner, it means Google looked at that company and said, yeah, these people are good. So that's what I like. Freelancers usually don't have premier partner statuses, so that's just something to take in consideration. Like Google gave them like it's like a Twitter blue check. Like, yep, we looked at them and they're real. In Google Marketing Center under account settings, should I turn on product protection notification? That's, let me just see the recent, there was a recent update about that. Let me just do a quick Google search to see if I can find the most recent article. Where was this? It was weird. It was about Google Search Console, but they mentioned this. Okay, no, I'm thinking of the wrong thing. So this, if you have product protection, it depends. So if your product, let's say, goes out of stock and you want it to keep showing, and the feed doesn't send over an update for it, you can leave it running. But product protection usually, if I'm thinking it correctly, that's the one that basically lets you know that something happened, but they still hold your products for a specific amount of time. Let me look into that one, and I'll get back to you, because I kind of know what it does, but I don't know if I have a really strong opinion about it. Trigger with a significant drop in number of products in a particular feed. If a drop is detected, Google will automatically create new products and update existing products based on the information from the affected feed. Could be good, could be bad. That's a, I haven't tested that yet. If a product goes out of stock or a product drops, we get back ASAP, because I don't want GTIN to affect it. So I would, in my opinion, if it was me, I'd say no. I don't want Google to choose different products. But could it benefit you? And if you have very similar products and people have really good performance, yes. My opinion is no. But again, if you're expecting a large drop off in performance, it's Google basically scanning your website and then posting it up for you. Yeah, that's a tough one. I would say no, and just use good feed management. Does it make sense to add all Google audiences to the campaign, just see which ones convert over time, keep those? Well, you can. I would set them to observe first. And hopefully I'm not butchering your name. So Verhuis, I'm so sorry if I butcher your name, but I want to make sure I'm calling you out so you can hear the answer for this. If you're adding Google audiences to a campaign, set them at observe, because Google audiences go broad, but Google works on intent. So as an example, a person that really likes home and garden might need shoes. So don't target the people that are on home and garden. Use them as observes. And if you find that this audience converts really, really well and you want to use some advanced bid adjustments, yeah, that's great. You can start to add, or if they perform poorly, you can add some negatives. But their audiences, even in market audiences, everyone in here is in the market, is in the market for like 3 things. And if you get the wrong audience and you're targeting them, you're going to miss the audience that converts. If you use them as observation and you find that a audience, doesn't matter which one, a audience is performing well, then add or subtract, your advanced bid adjustments to those. But don't run them at target, especially not at the beginning, unless you know, hey, I only can go after this audience, which I don't really have a use case for. But I would add all of them and then set them to observe, and then use advanced bid adjustments on those audiences. But just know that you might have this, like, this shoe company that people who are interested in religion convert really well. They're not related at all. It just so happens that those audiences overlap with people that need shoes. So that's why it's kind of a scary thing. Don't ever set it to target unless you're using a remarketing campaign. Then you have to target all your all visitors. That makes sense. If I run smart bidding, max conversion, how long will I need to wait for the machine to learn and stabilize? If you're running smart bidding, if it's on smart shopping campaign, at least 60 days. If you're on a other campaign like search, sometimes max conversions can overshow. It's a saturation. So it might learn and stabilize, but that's because it needs to overspend. So maximize conversions is a saturation of play. What that means is that they will say, okay, I need to maximize the conversions. Doesn't matter what cost, doesn't matter what CPC, doesn't matter what daily spend, it will maximize conversions. It might spend $1,000 to get one. And did you maximize conversions? Yep, I spent every single possible dime I possibly could, and I got my one conversion. I maximized it. So just because it's optimized doesn't mean it performs well. So usually though, for maximized conversions, you want to have at least 5 to 10 conversions per week is where I think that becomes effective. Just know that it might not be the cheapest. You're just going to try to get all of them at whatever cost. So use maximized conversions if you have a lot of money. If you have a lot of money in that ad spend and you're like, hey, this performs well, I just need to get every possible one. I need to throw tens of thousands of dollars a month at it. That's when you would want to use that. And then optimize would mean, yeah, did you blow all of your money and did you get as many conversions as possible? Yes. So just know that's what maximized conversions means. Maximize conversions at any cost. Add every product variant to Merchant Center and okay, add every product variant to Merchant Center and Smart Shopping campaign, or just add per product. Again, this is dependent upon your site structure. If you have a page that they can choose their own variant, only add, my opinion, and sometimes this needs to be found out first. So let's do this. In the beginning, add them all, because you won't know which product variant is the most popular that gets to click and then gets conversion. Once you know, oh, the size large gets the most amount of clicks and the size small and size extra large get clicks but they don't convert, then only add the product at the product size at the variant that's the most popular and then use that one. And then after they start to, you'll see that the conversions start to come in because they might click on the ad, this is large, but then may order medium. That's fine. Just add all the variants, find out which variant has the best performance, and then only use that variant if your landing page allows them to choose the other variants. Now I do have to actually run, so hopefully I was able to, I still don't see chats. This is so annoying. I'm so sorry, everyone. Thank you so much, Leandra. This has been a huge help. But I have to now get going. But yeah, I will see you all next Monday. And I sincerely apologize if I missed your question. But yeah, I don't know what happened with YouTube today. But thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it. Take care.